Welcome to day 3 of the Stress Dad to Calm Dad, the Lunch and Learn sessions. And everything that we've covered so far has led to this point. Let's just recap. We've shifted our mindset ever so slightly. So now we realize our role at work, our role in work is to understand everything in front of us so that we can make an informed decision about what the right thing at the right time for the right reasons in the right way, what that is. And in order for us to do that, we then ask better quality questions. And as a result of that, we now know what we need to focus on. We know what it is we need to do first. So it naturally leads to time. So now we've got to spend time doing that thing that we've decided is the thing that's going to make the biggest difference, that has the biggest consequence if it doesn't get done. It's got the biggest why. But we've now got to really focus our time. And when you look at anybody that is successful, and I'm talking about, they might have financial success or business success, but I'm looking at, they've got success financially or impact in the world, but they're also looking after themselves and they've got that relationship with their family. The people with balance in their life, they are not just thinking differently. They're not just doing differently. They have a better relationship. They are doing something different with their time. They have a better relationship with time. They are more precious and focused with their time. And that is what allows them to not only have a great impact, but have the time to look after themselves and build those amazing relationships with their family and spend quality time with them. So this is what we're going to cover today. I want to impart some of that to you so that you can get more focused with your time. So those working hours don't just keep getting all out of control. And the great thing is, by the time you've got to this point, because of how we've shifted our mindset, because of how we're now looking and approaching our work, your working hours should already naturally be reducing because you're not trying to get everything done in one day. But we're going to push it over the edge. I want to give you some extra things that's really going to help you focus your time, because there is, very specifically, there's one thing that can really, really trip you up. And it is my favorite myth to bust. So we're going to do some myth busting today. And we'll probably spend a good chunk of the time on that because it is so important. It's going to be able to free up more time. It's going to help you get more done in less time. And this is what it's all about. If we want to stress less and dad more, we've got to get better at how we focus our time. So the first thing we're going to cover is this myth busting. I'm not going to give it away. I'll talk about it in a minute. And then the other two things are so simple. And you might, it'd be like teaching you to suck eggs. You might go, oh, I already know that. Yeah, whatever. Give me something a bit more complicated or a bit more, bigger. Give me something better than that. But the fact is, I've looked at all this through 25 years experience and studying the best. Most of it comes down to the basics, the simple things. We can overcomplicate everything in life. So when we come across something simple, we kind of dismiss it. But I'm going to give you two really simple things, and you probably already know them. But the big question is, are you doing them? There is a huge difference between knowing something and doing it. We said this about these sessions. There's a huge difference between showing up, taking in all this information, learning this insight, applying it to your life, and then actually going and doing it in real life. There's a huge difference. Most people go on courses and trainings and then they don't apply it. And guess what? Nothing changes. But that's not you and I. We wouldn't be here if that was us. I just want to make that point that when we come across, and you're going to do it tomorrow as well, there's going to be another one that's like so simple, but there's science behind it. There's proven track record behind it. So I don't want you to dismiss it. Just to make this point a little bit more, I speak to, she's obviously a lot of stressed people, and some of them go, oh, I know this stuff. And some of them might have gone through this stuff, and they go, oh, I know it. Why aren't you doing it? It's like, I'm just so busy. It's like, if you've followed this process, then you shouldn't be so busy doing everything. You should be more focused, right? But it's like, I can't do it. It's like, well, why isn't it working? Why aren't you spending more time with your family? It's like, don't you have the self-discipline to see this through? And they're like, whoa, I got discipline. A bit of a personal attack. Whoa, I got discipline. They might give me an example. They go, hey, I do a park run every Saturday. I'm disciplined. So, okay, I get it. So, do you not really like your family? Like, whoa. My family is number one. I'd do anything for them. I love them to bits. It's like, how dare you? Right? It's like, okay, I'm glad we got that out of the way. I'm glad that's the truth. Because, by the way, some people use work, they overwork, because they don't know how to deal with their family. They don't know how to relate and build those relationships with their family. They don't want to be with their family. So it's really important. That's not you and I. You wouldn't be in the stressed dads to calm dad lunch and learn sessions. You wouldn't want to be stressing less and dadding more if you didn't like your family, right? But again, it's just something to be aware of. You can sometimes see it in other people. So if it's not that, it's got, well, so the company that you work for or the work that you do, has it got so much control over you that you cannot make simple decisions about, keeping yourself healthy, spending time with your family, and the things that are really important? Has it got so much control over you that you can't make those decisions? It's like, whoa, hold on a minute. No one controls me. No one owns me. I'm my own man. I'm in control. I do what I want to do. It's like, okay. So why aren't you putting it into place? If you know this stuff, why aren't you putting it into place? Is it possible? Let's play that game again. Remember from earlier sessions, is it possible that you're just not following through? That you're not committed 100% to doing these things? Maybe you dibble and you dabble and you try it, but you don't commit to it and you don't do it over an extended period of time. You don't make it a consistent thing that you do, which builds a habit, which means you then reap the benefits and the rewards from that. Is it possible that maybe that's the case? Well, maybe. Yeah. So this is the difference between knowing and doing. And it's the difference between things staying stuck and the same and things improving. And we're all about improving our situation right now. So, with that all said, let's get on to these three things that we're going to cover today. And the first one, I feel like I built it up a little bit. I feel like I need a drum roll or something. My favorite myth to bust. And in no way am I here to offend anybody that feels that they're good at this, because there are some people that feel like they're really good at this thing that I'm going to talk about. There are some people that look up to other people and go, God, I wish I was as good at it as them. And some people don't do it at all, right? Or don't believe in it. And even worse, there are some employers that actively look for this thing. They say, are you good at? I tell you, red flag. Because if they're asking for this thing I'm going to talk about, building up all the suspense, chances are they don't have a handle on what their priority is. They're not focused. They're just going to throw everything at you and expect you to do it all at the same time. And that is going to cause you a lot of stress. So be wary of companies looking for this quality in you. So what is it, Martin? I can't take it anymore. What is it? It's multitasking. I'm talking about doing more than one thing at a time. And I'm not talking about, right, this is always tricky doing it live. So I'm not talking about this, right? I'm not talking about that. Yeah, I could do that. That's doing two things at the same time. I'm not talking about driving. When you got the stick, the clutch, the steering wheel, the mirrors, and you go, when you first start to drive a car, you're like, what are you talking about? Am I an octopus? But muscle memory, it goes into your subconscious. We train ourselves and we can do that, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about work, okay? I'm talking about the stuff where you need to focus and concentrate on work. And some of it is going to be more complicated than other things. but it's the stuff that you're doing at work. You can't do two things at once. Just think about it. You cannot check your emails and write social media posts at the same time. You can't review your monthly figures and write a report for the board at the same time. You can't do it. I mean, just think about it. If you've ever been on a conference call, right? And it's not a very interesting conference call, right? And you're like, oh. And so you start doing your emails, right? Tapping away. I mean, sometimes people don't put themselves on mute, and you can just hear the keyboard. And then somebody says, whoever's using the keyboard, can you just put it on mute, please? And stop doing your emails. But you start doing your emails, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, your name is called, right, for your opinion, and you're like, just repeat the question, please. You can't focus. If you've got to concentrate on something, you can't do two things at once. And this is kind of where this misnomer about multitasking comes from. Because we give you a little bit of a history lesson on it. Multitasking, the word, comes from the 1960s. It comes from a description of how computers work. You know, those basic computers back in the day. But it was to describe how a computer could switch between two tasks really, really quickly, much quicker than we could ever do. Yeah, it's like we just couldn't even handle it. It looked like, in terms of our perception of what was going on, it looked like they were doing two things at the same time, but they weren't. They were just flicking between them very, very quickly. This is the definition of multitasking. That is what it is. But somehow, over the decades, it's like a game of Chinese whispers. Somehow, nowadays, it's describing human beings doing more than one thing at a time at the same time. What? Like, scientifically, we can't even do that. And yet this is what it's become known as. And like I said, there's a lot of stuff out there, you know, advocating multitasking and people being really proud about it. I'm not here if you're here to go, oh, actually, I thought I was really good at multitasking. This isn't a personal attack. What I want to do is just give you a little bit of science behind things, give you a little bit more insight so that you can focus your time a little bit better. And because the other thing about multitasking, sometimes it's very deliberate, okay? You've got different things in front of you and you are literally switching between the two, because that's all it is, right? It's just switching between the two. So maybe you're deliberately doing that. But sometimes it's about interruptions, right? So sometimes somebody walks past your desk and interrupts you. And all of a sudden you're doing this thing, but now you've got to do this thing over here. Or it might be a distraction. You know, you've got tabs open on your computer. You're doing this thing because it's the thing that you need to do. And then something pings up, I don't know, an email or a message, or you suddenly get, oh God, I've got to do that. And you switch. Everything we've done up to now is about how can we get clarity? How can we get focus? So if we don't get clarity and focus on our time, everything else goes out the window. You're still going to be working long hours. It's going to take you a long time to do stuff. And we're going to come on to this because studies have been done, right? There's a great study from a professor in America that was a real advocate of multitasking. And he really wanted to understand it because he said, if this is an amazing quality, I want to be able to teach it and, you know, be able to, people in leadership and management and anybody want to be able to give the science behind it so that people get better at it. So he did this study of self-professed good multitaskers, right? And then he had another group that didn't multitask. They were really focused and on point. They just did one thing at a time and then moved on to the next. One thing and then do the next. And he gave them the same tasks. Now he was thinking that the multitaskers would obviously just outperform the other group. You know, that was his hypothesis. That's what he wanted to understand and see what they were doing differently. Well, I guess you can guess what the outcome was. It wasn't that at all. The people that weren't multitasking, the people that were focused on one task at a time, outperformed the multitaskers on every metric. Every metric. They wiped the floor with the multitaskers. Every measurement, they outperformed them. And it was a massive wake-up call for the professor. But it's a massive wake-up call then for the rest of us, although a lot of the world doesn't seem to really have grasped this yet. But all of a sudden it was like, well, actually, there's one thing at a time and there's something to it. And it's true. If you just look at it and go, right, what happens is You're focusing on this thing, and then something, either you've been distracted or you've deliberately done it, or you've been interrupted. You're doing this, and then there's time you've got to recalibrate to then focus on this new thing. You then do the new thing. Then there's some recalibration time to go back. And then when you're back, you're kind of got to try and figure out where you picked up from. There's a whole time perspective here. And the big thing that was found in, again, other studies, and again, this could potentially blow your mind. It blew my mind when I heard about this. And it was like, it just changes everything. I already knew that multitasking, it didn't feel right. They found that with low tasks, with basic tasks, simple tasks, right? Simple tasks. If you switch between things, just doing simple tasks, it would take you up to 25% more time to get the simple task done. Do you know what they found with more complicated stuff? So I'm talking about like when you're doing that report, you're looking at the figures, stuff that really requires your attention. That stuff. And there's a lot of that in business. If we're not really paying attention, then, we need to adjust our focus. But these things, the more complicated stuff, when people were switching, when they were trying to do a more complicated thing, it took them up to 100% more time to get the task done. In a world where we're going, we haven't got enough time, there's too much to do, not enough time, I haven't got time for myself, I haven't got time to spend with my family, I'm working crazy long hours. In a world that is dominated by that, if you could just master this one bit, which all it means is you just set your focus on doing one thing and you do the one thing for a set period of time. If you just did that, what difference would that make? If you carved out 25 to 100% of time out of your day, what would that mean? We've already said your working hours are already reducing. If you then got even clearer and focused with the work that you were doing, that really impactful stuff, you could then reduce the time it's taking you to do that as well. Then you've got some options about what you spend your time doing. And you might spend some of that time doing some more work, or you might spend it on yourself, or you might spend it with your family. That's why we're here. Stress less, add more. The simple methodology of focusing on something and getting it done can save you time. A lot of people that are trying to manage everything and they're juggling everything, the reason they work such long hours is not only because they're trying to do so much, they're just spending more time doing everything. But not us, because we're going to be leaders, right? This is about leadership. Leadership at work, leadership at home. We're making clear and focused decisions. Let's play the game. Is it possible again, right? So is it possible, just to really tip this over the edge, is it possible that if you multitask, it'll take you longer to do things? We've just established that. Absolutely, yes. Is it possible that if you multitask or get distracted or, get interrupted, and you invite that into your life, or you're in a position where that happens, is it possible that you could make more mistakes? Absolutely. Especially if you're doing the complicated stuff. You know what it's like. You go back to it and you go, oh, where was I? It was so easy to miss something. I mean, is it possible that if you multitask, the quality of the output that you produce is less than if you had focused? Absolutely. I used to see it in reports all the time. Somebody had got silos of time and just cobbled a report together. It just didn't flow. It felt like it was disjointed. It felt like you just spent 10 minutes here and 5 minutes there and half hour there. The outcome, the output that you produce will be better if you just focused and got it done. You know what else they found? I'm going to throw another study at you. They also found that people that multitask have more loose ends. In other words, they don't get things done. They don't complete things. They've got more projects and tasks on the go, on their massive to-do list, that they've started, but they haven't finished. That is of no benefit to anybody. Now, some of that stuff they didn't even need to do. It wasn't a big priority. It wasn't going to make the biggest difference. So what a waste of time that was. But also, if it is the stuff that's important, they're not even finishing it. You know what also they found, which is really apt for us here? Multitaskers have more stress because they're flitting between everything. They've got so much, they see all the things that are happening. They get distracted, they get interrupted, they get frustrated, they get more stress. This is so important. I cannot tell you how important it is to focus our time. And look, you know, we need to look at this and go, well, how do we do that then? So obvious things on the computer, only open the tabs that you need to do the work. Don't open the emails as well and the messaging and the social media or whatever the heck it is. Just the tab that you need. Turn the phone off, get the notifications off. Don't have pop-ups on your laptop. You know, close the door. Get an expectation. Tell people that you're not contactable. And focus and set yourself a time. Set yourself like, I'm going to do this for the next hour. And then maybe reward, you know, and after that hour, I'm going to reward myself. I'm going to have a little break and I'm going to have a coffee or, you know, whatever it might be, or a bar of chocolate. Stick to it. Focus. It's not, you know, and we're going to come on to this tomorrow, but it's not good focusing for like 6 hours. That's just going to burn you out. That's not good. We're going to cover that tomorrow. To hold that thought. But set your sights some time and focus. Get it done. Now, if you're in the office like I was, in the corporate world, I was in an office of like 3,000 people, completely open plan. It was so noisy. I might as well have been in a football stadium. And I found it really distracting. And people could come waltzing by, interrupt you, distract you, talking over the desk. There was two things I did. If my ideal was I would go and book a room. Just go and book a meeting room with the laptop, close everything down, all the notifications off, just what we just said, and just focus and book it out for an hour or two, and then just do that. You know, and if I needed a break in between, which I would, I'd then come back, but the room was booked. It gave me absolute clarity, and it gave me that peace and quiet that I needed to focus on complicated things. If a room wasn't available, I just got some noise cancelling earphones. Sometimes I'd play music and sometimes I wouldn't. It would just be the silence of the noise cancelling earphones. It just helped me. But I would also then do all the things, tabs and phone off and all that kind of stuff. But I would also let people around me say, I'm not contactable. I'm here, but I'm not contactable. Unless, you know, the building is on fire, I don't want to know. I need to focus on this. And that's why I've got, you know, earphones in. You've got to find what works for you, to how you're going to focus. And that's going to be, you know, your task today in terms of putting this into practice. But you've got all the tools to get focused. Now focus your time. And there's a great book called The One Thing. It's by Gary Keller. And it goes through this, and it goes through, you know, business in life. You know, how do you figure out what the one thing is that you should be focusing on right now? It's a great book. I'll share the link with you so that you can have a look at that. You know, it's a great book. It's a game changer for me. It really was. And it covers multitasking. So that is the first thing. That's the myth to bust, right? But it's so important. That's why we spent most of the session doing this. You have to get focused. I think I've made the point. The next two things, and relatively quickly, and there are simple things, but this is now where we just slightly shift the focus to go, right, we want you to spend more time with your family. We want to spend quality time with your family. And everything we've just done, and then including what we've just gone through, has reduced your working hours. It makes it more accessible that you can spend more quality time with your family. You're going to be less stressed. There's going to be more time. You created that time because you're being the leader, because you're more focused. But the other thing you need to do, and this isn't just me making this stuff up. I'm studying successful people that have got that balance. They are precious with their time. They set boundaries. When it comes to work, they know when the work stops. They know when to stop work. They set the time and they stick to it. Now, are there occasions when they have to go over and all that? Yes, but it's a rare occasion. It's not the norm. Because the simple thing is, if you don't take control of your working hours, they will take control of you. We've already established there is always more to do in work. Your work list is never ending, which is why we've got so focused on what are the three most important things that are going to make the biggest difference. But our work hours just drift away because we've got so much. There's always going to be so much. So we have to be the filter. We have to put the boundaries in place. If we don't do that, it will drift. 5 will turn into 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 2 o'clock in the morning. I've been there. You've probably been there. We need to take control of that. Not the company, nobody else, us. We take that decision. And I can't tell you what time to finish work. It's up to you to decide. And it might vary on different days. You might finish earlier on a Friday, but work later on a Wednesday. Whatever it might be, you've got to decide. You've got to take conscious control. This reminds me of a guy that I used to work with in the corporate, and he would leave work at 5:30 without fail. I mean, again, there might have been exceptions here and there, but 99% of the time, 5:30, he was out the door. And I was really struggling at the time. My work hours were completely out of control. I was stressed, and I sat down with him and go, "How do you do it?" And of course, there's lots of stories that then get created. People say, "Oh, well, obviously his work's not as important, or he's not got as much to do, he's not as busy," right? And that was all BS. He had just as much work as we did. His work was just as important as ours. You know what he said? He just said, it's non-negotiable. I set that time. That is family time. He said, I've been in the office since 8 o'clock. I've been really focused. I've been clear. I've made a difference today. I've achieved stuff. I've moved the company, the department, the project forward. Now is my time to spend with my family, the people that I love the most in the world. It is non-negotiable. This is my time. It is their time. It's that simple, but you have to make that choice. It took me a long time. He told me that at the time, but I was still struggling. It took me a while to build this in. But I tell you what, it's a game changer. It rises your confidence. It makes you have a sense of control. And you're not now just doing this in amongst being stressed and trying to manage everything. You're doing this now at a time when you're more focused with your work. So you can step away at the end of the day going, yeah, I achieved what I set out to do. Amazing, great. You're not going to feel that guilt that you used to have. It's going to feel more comfortable setting the time and leaving. Clarity, focus, be more specific about your time, be precious about your time. And it leads to the final thing that we're just going to talk about, the final thing that helps you with this. And it helps you in the long term, but certainly in the short term to try and get into this pattern. Third thing is make arrangements outside of work. So schedule things in, just like you would schedule a meeting, schedule things outside of work. And this can be real simple stuff as well, okay? It could be at 6 o'clock, I'm taking my children to the park. And we're going to spend an hour in the park and just have a great time. It can be at 7 o'clock or 6:30, we're going to have a meal together, just at home. It's just a normal meal, but you've set the intention. And the important about all of this is you've got to involve other people. It's not just something you've thought, oh, I'm going to do this later on, and then you surprise people later on, or it's easy to get out of it because then, working hours turn into 6, 7, 8, and you've missed it, and you're like, well, I haven't let anybody down. You've got to involve somebody else. So with your kids, you go, really looking forward, Sally, right? I'm going to go to the park, Daddy's going to be there, and we're going to have great fun. What do you want to do? And you get excited about it. They get excited about it. And yeah, same with the meal. Or you might go, I'm going to take my wife out to the cinema and it's at 8 o'clock. Or I'm going to meet my mates down the pub at 7 o'clock. Or I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to go to the gym. You make a schedule. Schedule things in. You remember when at the beginning of the sessions we talked about, something that makes us work harder and longer can be fear of letting people down. But it's a very negative cycle when we use that, and we've ditched that now, right? That's ancient history. It might have been a couple of sessions ago, but it's ancient history now. But you can use the same philosophy, but in a more positive way, because you're not going to want to psychologically, you're not going to want to let your family down. If you've committed something to your family, you don't want to let them down. You're not going to do it. You're going to go for it. Again, if there's exceptional circumstances, there's a big pile up on the motorway and you're not going to make it home, it's different. But that's a rarity. This is about, and it's not about being perfect all the time, but it's about doing it more often than not. Because right now you're probably not doing it at all. So make arrangements. Get other people committed to it. Get them excited about what you're going to do after work, and then do it. And just I'll give you a little bonus sort of hint. When you're saying what time you want to leave, start powering down about half an hour, 20 minutes to half an hour before that time. because you get to the time and then it'll be like, oh, I've just got to check my emails, got to check my messages, or just got to finish this off, and then I got to power down. Half an hour will pass, and you're going, oh God, I'm late. So just as a little bonus tip, do your power down cycle, whatever that is, that little pattern that you do that, but before the time that you want to leave, so that you leave on time, and then, get the schedule. It's so simple, but it's so effective. I say this isn't rocket science. And the thing about this is your family needs you. Being impactful and successful is wonderful, right? We can do amazing things in the world, but it ain't no fun if you haven't got anyone to share it with. And your family needs you, not the stressed, frustrated, hurried, on edge dad, right? They need the fun-loving, calm, amazing dad, the heroic dad that you are. They want that guy. And your partner, if you've got a partner, they need that guy too. So this is about now, we've got so much more control and sense of control and confidence and focus at work. It is now enabling us to spend more quality time with our family. But we've got to do this thing with the time. We've got to get that under control. Otherwise, we'll just find more things to do. So these last two will really help you put that into place so that you can put your family first. This is it. This was the session. I hope you've got massive insight and value from this. Again, I'd love to hear what you think and your thoughts and your insights and your light bulb moments. And as we've always said, nothing changes unless you take action, okay? These sessions are great, but you've got to put it into practice. So in terms of that, on the multitasking thing, what I'd love you to do is have a real think about, because I know we've got kind of hybrid working right now. So at home, when I need to focus on something, what are you going to do? And all those things that we've talked about, the tabs, the door closed, the phone is off, and all that kind of stuff. What are you going to do? Document it. Have it as your blueprint for how you focus. And then you can pick yourself up when you don't do it and you get distracted and go, oh, it was because I did that. I left the tab open. Because I can't be trusted with the tab open because I'm just going to get distracted. But if I don't have it there, I'm going to focus. Make your blueprint for at home and do it for in the office as well. And like I said, if you're at your desk, what are you going to do to get rid of all the noise out there? What are you going to do if you can book a meeting room? How are you going to focus your time? Be deliberate and intentional about this. Everything we cover is about being deliberate and intentional, not drifting, not making it up as we go along. If we're more intentional, we're more likely to be more focused and get things done in the way that we want to get them done and have that better balance in our life. So do that for the multitasking. And then for the next week, just have a look. Just set some times for when you want to finish work and make some arrangements outside of work. Do it, see how it goes. See how much of a difference it makes. And not just to you, but to your family too. So go put this into practice. Have a look at this afternoon. Have a look at it tomorrow morning. Have a look at it and put this into practice and see the difference that it makes on top of everything that we've covered so far. And then join me again for the next session with day 4 of the Stressed Dad to Calm Dad Lunch and Learn sessions, where we're going to take everything and then look at habits. Because what we want to do is we want to build on this. We want to do all this regularly. We want to make sure that the habits we've got, the routines we've got on a daily basis are giving us that balance, are giving us that focus and that clarity, and that they're not the things that are going to distract us or get in the way of all the amazing progress that we've made. And we're not going to have time to go through all the science of how you build new habits, but I'm going to give you a great insight into the start of your day and how you can put you and your family first. Something that we often don't do, and some of the things that trip us up in terms of the first day. And also a couple of things, again, and it's going to be like sucking eggs, but 2 things that can make all the difference. Simple but effective. So join me for the next session on habits. And until then, remember, we're in this together so we can stress less and dad more.